Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Fishing the 262. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about a bait that for me has made the Ned Rig all but obsolete. It's a super cool jig. It is designed right here in the Midwest. It's built for Great Lakes smallmouth, but I'm here to tell you this jig catches largemouth, it catches smallmouth. There's no doubt in my mind that this thing will catch spotted bass if you live in that part of the country. This jig shines in so many different situations, so let's dive into it. I want to talk about the jig. I want to talk a little bit about the construction of the jig. We want to talk about colorways. I want to talk about scenarios where I might throw this jig, the rod, the reel, the line, everything. Top to bottom, we want to talk about it, and we want to give you guys a full comprehensive breakdown. I'm going to show you a couple of colorways here on camera. Stick around to the end though. I'm going to screenshot every single color that this jig is available in. And let's just dive into it. First, before we go any further, I want to make it abundantly clear that yes, this jig is designed by a personal friend of mine. With that said, I do not get these jigs for free. I buy them same as you would, same as everybody else. I believe retail is $5.99 on these on the Jig Squad website. Every once in a while, he'll make some drops on his Instagram where you can save a little bit of money. So if you're not following Jig Squad on Instagram, go over there, give him a follow so that you can see some of these drops and save yourself a little bit of money. A lot of times he'll run free shipping or maybe he'll do $1 off plus free shipping on every single jig. So make sure you're on Instagram. Make sure you're getting a notification on those drops when they happen. But standard retail on this, $5.99, jigsquad.com. I buy them just like everybody else. So there is no sponsorship behind this video. I want to make that extremely clear. I fish this jig because I believe in it, same as everything else I talk about on my channel. I started using this jig last year. I caught a lot of fish on it, but I didn't realize the full potential and power of this jig until this spring when I really started getting it dialed in and honing in on some colorways, on some trailers. So let's get into all of that. My three favorite colors are, number one, it's tied on my rod right now. See if we can get that to show up. That is Houdini. That is my number one color. Number two, I'm actually out of, so I cannot show you in this video, but it'll be at the end, is Ghost Blue Craw. Outstanding colorway. And then this guy right here. This is not a color that was anywhere on my radar. Kuda convinced me to give this one a try, and he was right. This is a flat-out fish catcher. So those are some of the colorways that I love, but let's talk about the construction of the jig because I think that's one of the most important parts of what makes this jig so effective. First and foremost, take a look at that paint job. It is absolutely immaculate and flawless, and you'll notice there's not one drop of paint inside that hook eye, so you're never going to have to use an eye buster. I've got a really good angle on it right here, so hopefully you can see how clean that thread tie is. I am a firm believer that there is nobody in the jig game that ties as clean as Kuda does. These jigs are just, like I said, they're immaculate from top to bottom. I think the most important part is the material. It's a fine cut silicone, but it's not over tied. I think one of the biggest problems throughout the jig industry, whether you're talking finesse jig, all the way up to flipping jigs, skipping jigs, football jigs, is just too much material. I think oftentimes when tying a jig, as a jig maker myself, I find that less is more. Even when I tie a skipping jig, I'm pretty much at 2, maybe 2 1/4 tabs. You'll never see me getting into 2 1/2 and 3 tab ties. It's just not my thing. I don't like that much bulk. I think it becomes counterproductive at a certain point. So I think the important thing about these Jig Squad finesse football heads is the amount of material that's tied. I know how much is on here. I'm not going to give away all the trade secrets. If you want to know, buy some and count them for yourself, but I know exactly to a T how many tabs are used in the making of this jig, but that's not for me to reveal. If you want to find out, you can count them yourself. I'm not trying to be rude about it. I'm just going to protect my buddy's interest on that part of it because there are so many copycats in the jig game. It's unbelievable. But anyways, back to the jig scenarios, colorways, etc. Where do I throw the Jig Squad finesse football jig? Anywhere I want to. First and foremost, if you're going to throw a Ned, tie one of these on. This thing will outshine a Ned Rig almost all the time. It's going to get all the bites that a Ned Rig gets, but it's also going to pick you up a few quality bites along the way. My home body of water is, it's got plentiful. You can catch numbers out there. 10 pounds is a decent bag out there. You start getting into 12-pound bags, you're doing pretty good. 15 and 16-pound bags are absolute megas out there, and I am picking up some 3-pound plus fish on this jig, on that body of water, and those bites are like gold out there. You get a 3-pounder out there, that's like catching gold. It's like catching a 2.5 or 3-pounder on the Sabine. It's a good numbers game. It's a great place to get a lot of action, but this jig is picking me up a much more quality bite at times than a Ned Rig ever has. So forget about the Ned Rig, throw this in its place. Other things you can do with this, you can take this out as deep. I've fished this thing as deep as 20 foot of water. A lot of times when I'm out that deep, it doesn't hit the bottom. It gets bit before it hits bottom. If it does hit the bottom, some guys would call it stroking a jig, but I'm more snap jigging it I'm snapping it up off the bottom and letting it fall back down. And most of the time they pick it up on that fall. So I'll throw it out, let it hit the bottom. I'll give it 2 or 3, maybe 4 really good snaps up off the bottom. If I don't get a bite, I'm going to make a new presentation with it because, like I said, when I'm out that deep, they seem to hit it on the fall more so than dragging it on the bottom. Docks, I will throw this thing around docks all day long. One thing that I've kind of discovered through the help of Cuda is swimming this jig. I will throw this thing up under a dock as far as I can get it, let it hit the bottom one time. If it doesn't get hit on that initial fall, I will slow roll it out, and it's amazing how many strikes you'll get on the swim with this jig. It's not something you normally think of with a football jig to swim it, right? You're normally going to drag that and try to maintain bottom contact, but I'm telling you what, I am catching a ton of fish swimming this out from the docks, and they're coming out and getting it. Bed fishing, I'm not a huge bed fishing guy anymore. I will do it from time to time. I just don't feel great about beating up on bed fish, but I did experiment with this on a few sight fish. Getting this color right here specifically into a bed, it works, and it works well. As far as trailers go, there's 2 main trailers that I like to throw personally, and I'll tell you what I've experimented with. I've experimented with Berkley Max Scent. I think it's called the Little Trooper. I have experimented with some baits from Biz Baits. I have experimented with the TRD style baits on the back. That works, by the way, so don't be afraid of that. But my main 2 go-to baits are going to be a Missile Baits Ned Bomb if I'm looking for less action, and if I want a little more action, I'm going to go with these guys right here. This is the X-Zone Stealth Finesse Series Stealth Crawl. I'm going to pick this up in Green Pumpkin, like you see here, or this one is Grass Crawl. Those are my 2 main colors in this bait. When I rig it, I'm going to take one out of the package for you and just show you really quick what I do. It's nothing revolutionary, believe me when I tell you. It's a very basic rig. As you see this come out of the package, you can see those little appendages right there. I'm going to just pinch that off just below those appendages. It gives me a little bit wider section of the bait, because one of the things you'll see about this, I should have talked about this when we talked about the initial construction, is not only do you have the wire keeper, which is awesome, especially if you are going to go with a Z-Man style TRD bait, or Z-Man has some finesse bugs and stuff like that that will work on the back of these. So you've got the wire keeper for that, but you've also, so wire keeper, sorry, I was off camera there. I forget the camera's backwards sometimes, but wire keeper works great for your Elastec style baits. And then there is also a lead keeper down here on the hook shank. So when I'm going with the X-Zone, I'm going to just pinch that off right there to get to a little bit wider section. It's going to give me a little bit more compact presentation. Show you what that looks like. Just pinch it off. You can bite it off, and that's it right there. I'm going to thread that on just like any other jig trailer now. This has been by far my best trailer. Of all the trailers that I've experimented with, I've come down to this one, and like I said, the Missile Baits Ned Bomb if I want a little bit less action. Those are my 2 favorite. So again, keep it simple. Don't go too crazy. I think sometimes we get so caught up in colors and trailers and actions, and we end up with paralysis through analysis. So keep your trailer simple. One nice thing about the X zones is they do come in the clamshell, so they're always straight. They're going to lay in there nice and flat. You're never going to have any issue with that. And then again, like I said, missile baits, Ned bomb. Those are my 2 trailers. I don't mess around with anything else anymore. I have no reason to. I've experimented enough, and I've dialed in on those 2. Rod and reel setup is really basic, you guys. I throw it on a spinning rod at 1/8 of an ounce with a trailer. If you're really handy with a bait caster, I can throw it on a bait caster, but I'm definitely not going to skip a dock with an 1/8 ounce jig. For me, it's just easier on a spinning rod. This is a 7'2" medium light that I built, and I'm going to call it a medium light plus. It's really important to understand what your equipment is capable of. This is a little bit stronger of a medium light. It is a 6 to 12 pound test class blank. It is a Phoenix Recon Elite. It's not super high end, but it's not a cheap blank. I think these come in right around $80 for the blank. 70, 80, somewhere. Don't quote me on that. It's hard to keep up with all the tariffs that are going on now too. Fuji guides, my standard VSS reel seat that I put on every single spinning rod that I build or buy. If I'm buying a spinning rod, I will not buy a rod that doesn't have this handle on it. This is my favorite handle. I want all my handles to be the same when I pick up my rods. I don't like a lot of variety out there in the boat. I'm a creature of habit. But again, 6 to 12 pound test blank. So a little bit stronger of a medium light. No medium light is created equally, so it's really important that you start looking at the specs on a rod blank and understand what it's capable. I prefer to live in the middle. So when I'm fishing this, I'm throwing it on 8 or 10. Generally, I found 10 to be my sweet spot. I'm an old school slackliner. For years and years, I didn't even own a spinning rod. So I didn't understand that these were actually valuable tools when I was a young kid. I only threw bait casters. So I do crack on them a little bit harder than most guys. So I will throw 10. 90% of the time. If I go to a super finessey body of water, I might go down to 8. I've gone as high as 12 because again, I jerk on them pretty hard. But you can see 2500. This is a Tatula. It's one of the older ones. It's not the MQ frame, but it's still a great reel nonetheless. It's got a nice smooth drag on it, and you can see I keep that thing locked down pretty tight because I do crack on them. I'm going to set that hook on these fish, and this hook is built for it. It's a 1/0 mustad. It's got enough beef to it that you can crack on them, but you don't have to. You can kind of reel into them and just lean on them a little bit and still get penetration with that hook. That's another beautiful feature about this jig is it's built on the right hook to do the job. So you don't need anything super fancy to do this. I'm not going to be like, and this isn't a shot at tactical bassing, but tactical bassing is always railing on the highest of the high-end gear, NRXs, and crazy expensive rod and reels. I'm not that guy. I want you to feel comfortable that you can stay within a budget and whatever your budget allows for. I'm just giving you general guidelines here. You don't have to run out and buy a $200 reel or buy a fancy custom rod. Just get something in that 6 to 12 pound test range, 2500 size reel. I like to throw the Berkley X9 for my braid in crystal. Anytime I can use crystal, that's going to be my number one option. I'm a big fan of it, big believer in it. It works for me. I don't like the fluorescent greens or the high vis yellows. Some of the bodies of water that I fish around here are just so crystal clear. If I make a long cast, I can see that high vis braid coming through the water column from a mile away. It probably doesn't matter, you guys, but it gets in my head, so that's where I go with the crystal color. 10-pound fluorocarbon. This is Sunline, but I've messed with Seagar and even Bass Pro Shops XPS fluorocarbon when I'm tying 6 or 8 foot leaders. I don't get too bent out of shape about the brand of fluorocarbon. Now, if I was going to spool straight fluorocarbon, I'm probably going to go with something like a Seagar and VizX because it is a little bit softer, a little more supple when I'm spooling an entire spool of it. But for the purposes of this presentation, I'm going to go with the 10-pound braid to a 10-pound leader. My leader line is going to be anywhere from 6 to 10 feet long. You can use an FG knot, a uni to uni, whatever you prefer to tie. I'm not here to tell you what not to use. Use what you can tie effectively and efficiently, and get back to fishing if you have to tie a new leader when you're out there on the water. Don't waste. If you can't tie an FG knot efficiently, that's okay. Keep practicing, and when you get efficient with it, then start using it, or maybe tie up FG knots ahead of time, and then when you're out on the water, go to a uni to uni if you can tie it quicker. It's more important to get back into the water than it is to fuss about a knot, in my personal opinion. So that's kind of where I'm at on this setup, you guys. 7 foot to 7'6", medium light, something in the 6 to 12 pound blank class. Look at your line and lure rating conditions. Find a blank that you can live in the middle. This is a fast action. It doesn't bend. It bends relatively deep. It's going to be hard to show it on camera here, but I like a little slower action when I'm using braid. One, because I crack on them pretty hard and the braid's not going to give. I like the rod to have a little bit of give to it. Find a rod that's got a good smooth reel, that has a good smooth drag, whatever fits within your budget. If you're a $100 reel guy, that's okay. Daiwa Fuego, Shimano Miravel. If you're looking for something sub $100, PC Fun makes one called the Carbon X. I've messed with those reels quite a bit. There's a review of a Carbon X on this channel. For the bang for the buck, the Carbon X is a great reel. I've got my kids fishing Daiwa Revros and Daiwa Legalis. I think the Revros is about a $60 reel. The Legalis is about an $80 reel. Those reels are holding up. My kid has been fishing a Revros for 2 seasons now. I think, like I said, a $60 reel. It's still doing the job pretty flawlessly. So stay within your means, stay within your budget. Just get the right setup, you guys. Whatever that is for you, whatever your budget looks like. Don't feel pressure to go out there. It's not a contest who has the nicest rod and reel setup. It's about putting fish in the boat at the end of the day. So feel good about what you've got. Know you've got the right tool for the job, and just go fishing. Head over to jigsquad.com, you guys. Let's get out there. Let's support local bait makers. Small bait makers all over this country do phenomenal things, and it's important that we support those guys and keep this industry moving forward. I appreciate your guys' time. I know this is getting long-winded. Stick around, though. I'm going to show some quick screenshots of the colorways that this jig is available. Again, it's jigsquad.com. Make sure you follow him on Instagram at jigsquad so you don't miss some of the custom color drops or some of the promotions that he's going to run on the Instagram page. So, again, I'm sorry this is so long-winded, but I think it's important. I think this is a tremendous jig. It's going to catch you a ton of fish. You're going to support a great local bait maker. You're going to support even better of a human being, and that's what it's all about, you guys. Building community, experiencing growth on the channel is great, but the number one thing is we got to take care of the people that take care of us and support local bait makers. That's a huge deal, you guys. If you want the best quality, oftentimes it's going to be built in somebody's basement. It's not coming out of a factory in China. So thank you again for tuning in. Let's take a look at these colorways, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Tight lines, everybody.